You are listening to the More Life podcast.
More Life Podcast.
More life.
More life. This is
the More Life podcast.
Hi everybody, welcome back to More Life. I am so excited to have you here for another Carpool episode. These are episodes where we are super chill, we're just driving in the car for whatever reason, and you get to join in on the conversations. Now this episode today is with my auntie here in Central Australia. We're currently at Yulara, and which is near Ayers Rock or Uluṟu, and we're driving back to Alice Springs, so I thought it'd be the perfect time. I've got her locked in the car, and so she can't escape. But we're also just recording a conversation for memory's sake. A big part of the podcast for me was being able to record moments in time and our thoughts in those moments. But yeah, here she is. Hi, Aunty Jane.
Oh, hey, good.
Welcome to More Life.
Oh.
Aunty Jane is actually driving us back today. But I'm so excited for you guys to have a snippet into all these conversations. How are you feeling, Aunty Jane?
I don't know.
Have you been on a podcast before?
Oh, yes, but not your one.
This one's special. But yeah, we'll drop in and out as we drive. But stay tuned. I did tell you at the beginning that you'd probably get sick of me going, oh my goodness, it's so red. That's so red. That's super red. Because I knew the ground was going to be red, and I've seen red dirt before. Because in Zimbabwe, there's places with red dirt.
Yeah.
But this is quite red. And it's everywhere.
Well, they don't call it the red center for nothing.
Exactly. I really enjoyed seeing Uluṟu.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you enjoyed seeing me, or at least you were happy to see me after a while.
I thought we were just talking about this spot, about Yulara.
Yeah, okay. You were happy to see Uluṟu.
It's always good to see you, Aunty Jane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like I said before to you, I really liked Mparntwe as well. It is Mount Connor, not Mount Common.
Yeah, Connor.
Yeah, I thought that one was it's probably underrated. I feel like they could even...
I think so, because it's the first attraction when you're getting into Yulara. And it does remind me of Table Mountain in Cape Town.
Yeah. It's deceptive. So when you drive, because we drove from Alice Springs, and you first see this big red rock, and you're like, is that Uluṟu? But it's not.
Yeah.
And Aunty Jane, you picked it up because you saw the shape was different.
Yeah.
Whereas I was like, there it is. I was ready to settle with that one.
Oh.
And then it was still an hour and a bit to drive before we even got close to her.
Yeah.
But yeah. Is that Uluṟu?
Yep, that's it.
It's so cool. You can literally just see it.
Well, we're in Yulara, which is just 20 minutes from Uluṟu. But once we turn right over there, it will be right behind us, and we won't be seeing it after about 20 to 30 kilometers again.
Yeah.
Well, at least until you come back here, if you like. So what was your major highlight in Yulara and seeing the Uluṟu?
Major highlight here. I'd say the camels were pretty cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed the camel ride too.
I hadn't been on a camel before. I think the boys, my brothers, had gone on camels, but I was just sort of next to them. I never actually went on them.
Yeah.
And also it was the first time we properly saw
Yeah.
saw Uluṟu, and it was nice and relaxed as well. You said it was therapeutic, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought that the ride was therapeutic. I didn't expect the camels to be very gentle. They're very gentle, very soft creatures.
Yeah.
Very beautiful. Very soft too. The hump is quite soft. I was expecting it to be really hard.
You wouldn't let me poke it.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that we don't get bitten. Remember, some of those had muzzles on.
Mm-hmm.
Ours didn't though, because it was a soft one. But the one behind us had one, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that one bites people.
It's a biter. What was your highlight for the trip?
Well, I guess just the whole ride here, catching up with you after a while. Yeah.
I like that too.
Yeah, and then definitely the camels. I really enjoyed that. And this morning the Field of Lights was very beautiful, and watching the sunset and how the color of Uluṟu changes with the different angles of the sun and light there.
Yeah.
That was quite amazing.
We had a really funny tour guide as well.
Yes. Yes.
I
name.
think-
If you didn't like her name is Barbara.
Yeah. I think the way this place is set up, like we get a lot of time to spend with the person you're with. So we spend a lot of time talking and walking and all that sort of stuff. Whereas there's some trips people can go on where the activities have so much focus on them that you don't really spend quality time with people around.
Yes. I think the tours here are quite intimate. Yeah, you've got enough time with the tour guides and you can ask questions. And I think the best thing is they split us in groups. That way we all, ask questions and we have enough attention with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What else? How about last night's dinner?
Last night's dinner. So we're not going to name names.
We didn't want to come to the restaurant.
Yeah.
Did we?
We wanted to do a takeaway or room service and just sit and chill because we've been traveling during the day and we'd had a lot of excitement already. But they didn't do takeaway, so we had to go to the restaurant, which was a nice restaurant, but it felt like you were being forced to be there.
Forced to go there.
But it was really good food. I think
Yeah.
it was worth it, which is nice.
Yeah, it was a lovely experience altogether. We met a Fijian lady who was
Very
really
nice.
nice to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't say, you know how, so we went on holiday to Zanzibar a few years ago, and everybody says jumbo, like you teach the tourists to say jumbo
Yeah,
to
jumbo.
everyone.
Yeah.
So here, the local way to say hello, thank you, welcome, everything like that is palya. And you'd think that everyone would use it and say it all the time, but
Yeah.
they weren't. I was the only one who was like, palya.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. And now we're heading back to Alice Springs. What did you like about Alice Springs when you first got there?
When I first got there, I think one of the things I noticed, because I always notice the weirdest stuff in places, I was like, wow, this place is so flat.
It is, but it is surrounded by
like
mountains and hills.
obviously I noticed the red ground. Not as red as out here, like once you get to these spaces. Because we went to a lookout that you took me to, Anzac Hill, and it was cool seeing like, okay, cool, this is the lay of the land. You know, in Lion King when Simba goes up to the thing and they're like, everything the light touches is yours. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, the Anzac Hill gives you a 360 view of Alice Springs because you're right in the middle of everything and you're high enough to see everything in Alice Springs.
Yeah.
So that's where anyone should go when they're visiting Alice Springs. That you go to Anzac Hill and that's where you understand the Aboriginal history and story of Alice Springs, Mparntwe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You've lived in... Is Tennant Creek Central Australia?
Yeah.
Okay, you've lived in Central Australia for a few years. What has been your highlight?
I think working out bush has been the highlight of living out here in Central Australia. The outback has its own beauty. Like before you come here or when you just arrive here, you're like, oh my god, why did I do this or what's happening here? But
It's nothing like Brisbane.
yes, very different.
Yeah.
But once you compose yourself, you take in what nature has to give you, you look at what's surrounding you, you become really grateful of what the outback has to give. You really learn a lot from nature itself.
Yeah.
I think I was telling you yesterday about when I was driving from a place called Empanara in Canton Creek and I got caught up in a storm.
Oh, yes.
And that was my first storm ever. I couldn't see anything in front of me. My dashboard was wide.
And this is different to getting caught up in a storm back home because the roads are different, isn't it?
Yes, so it was loose sand and it was just getting soggy and muddy in less than 2 minutes. So I quickly had to get out of the car, release the pressure from my tires.
And I wouldn't even know to do that, I don't think. I mean, it's good you have the training of how to drive.
Driving.
Yeah, for how to drive four-wheel drive.
So,
Stuff.
yeah, so I quickly had to remember because I had done four-wheel driving, but never in the rain.
Yeah.
I've done, driving in the sand, driving in rocks, everywhere I've done that, in water even, but not in the rain and where the sand is, slippery and muddy like that.
Yeah.
And I was quickly sinking, so I could have been bombed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just got out of the car, released the pressure from my tires, went back in, driving between 70 and 90 for at least 100 Ks.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh, I want my mummy.
Oh man, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Do you drive, is it four-wheel driving every time you go to a bush community, or are there some that are accessible by a road like this?
Very few accessible by road. Two in particular that I worked at, that's Ali Karang and Elliot. Those ones were very close to the highway, but most of them we had to drive at least 400 k's, 900 k's, sometimes 1,000 k's out of town, and it's usually 200 or 200 k's mostly from the highway.
Yeah.
So you spend at least two hours or 1.5 hours on the dirt road. Yeah,
I can't imagine.
it's fun.
I'm so precious.
It's fun. Or you know,
I think I
sometimes-
could do it like maybe once or twice.
Yeah,
Because we've done it before, going on trips.
back
and
in the
like-
day.
Yeah, exactly. But like now, I couldn't do it regularly. I don't think.
Well, that was my job whilst working for Aunty Health. It's either that or sometimes we got flooded in. Like last year in October, we actually got stuck in Alparilla, Lake Nash. That's at the border of Aunty and Queensland, close to Mount Isa.
Yeah.
And we had to be flown out. And we were flying in and out of that community until April because they were still flooded in.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
And when you say flying in and out of the community, is that a helicopter or a little plane?
helicopter was, but for Alparilla, it's mainly for the little planes. Empanara and Canton Creek, sometimes we would use the helicopters.
Yeah.
But for Lake Nash, it was the small plane. The
Yeah.
tiny one where you feel all the turbulence.
Yeah, I can imagine. I wish I could show everyone the landscapes around here. Because it's crazy thinking that it's just miles and miles
And miles
and
of
miles of land with like no buildings, nothing.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing about the outback, though. It's quite deceiving when you're looking at it from the highway. It looks like there's nothing or no one lives in there.
Yeah.
But most of them are cattle stations or camel farms.
They're just big properties, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
And some of them, almost everywhere, you've got Aboriginal communities in there.
Yeah.
Because this is their rural home. This is like their homeland. Alice Springs is like a town or a small city, or so this is actually their home. So this is where you will find them most of the time because this is where their home is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you look into the horizon, you go like, oh, there's pretty much nothing there. But if you actually take a drive or walk, that's when you see some settlements, some houses, and some tiny communities in there.
And I suppose the traditional owners know how to be on the land, if that makes sense. So
Yes,
we
they
might
do.
not know the right way to, get the water and get the shelter in the extreme heat and extreme cold, but they've passed it on, learning how to actually do surviving on it.
Definitely. Yeah, they really know how to live on land and survive that. Sometimes when it's 52 degrees out here, or even when it's 47 or whatever, every time I ask myself, how do they survive that?
Yeah.
It gets really hot.
I can't imagine. After like 30 degrees, I'm like, whew, it's spicy.
Yeah, but out here it gets really, really hot. Just like right now, because it's winter, it's really cold. 2 degrees, -2, -3 this morning.
I almost felt like I was getting frostbite in my fingers.
But that was
I
only
know you're
4
saying I'm
degrees.
dramatic, but I felt it, Jane.
It was just 4 degrees.
I thought I could have died.
Oh, but yeah.
It was like the rest of my body was fine. It was just my little fingertips.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I haven't been in extreme cold for a long time, because I've obviously been in much colder temperatures before.
Yeah, America,
Yes. Even here.
China is cold too.
Where's that other place we went to? Stanthorpe. That was
Stand-up is cold.
under 0 degrees, but I don't know if you saw my photos, but I was just wearing like this long sleeve top and I was fine.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because I'm not used to it.
Well, the desert tends to be very cold. It has extreme weather conditions. When it's hot, it's very hot.
Yeah.
When it's cold, it's really cold. Like it's icy. You feel it, in your bones.
I wonder if I feel it more as well because it's dry.
Yes. So there's dry air all year round, actually. Well, except for the couple of times when it rains. But we've got dry heat in Central Australia.
Which I think would be better than humidity, is that right?
I think so. I prefer dry heat to humidity. Yeah. Although, muggy environments is good for our skin, and our Afro hair definitely love the humidity.
Yes.
But,
saving on the moisture.
but yeah, dry heat is much better. You can cool yourself faster. You can easily rehydrate. But I don't know. Maybe I've been away from the tropics too long. I'm getting too used to Central Australia.
That's true.
Yeah.
You do get used to wherever you're at.
Yeah. I came here for what? I was just supposed to be here for 2 years.
And you got stuck.
5 years later.
Almost
5 years later.
Yeah.
Still here. Yeah.
I think there's people say that about a lot of places.
Yeah.
Those places where you think, oh, am I going to be here for long? And, one thing leads to another, and then people go, oh, I've lived here for 10 years. And
it's like that for the Aunty, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a common conversation or a common thing you hear from most migrants or just Australians who moved to the Aunty. Like, oh, I just came here to try a 3-month gig. Oh, I was just flying in and flying out for 3 months, and 10 years later, they're still here.
Yeah.
Or 20 years later,
Yeah.
they have family and kids, and, they're calling Aunty home. So,
For sure.
yeah.
And you grow to love where you are.
It grows on you. That's the surprising thing. When I came here, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely going home after 2 years, and then, yeah, it just grows on you. And before you know it, you're so comfortable and you're loving the place. So, are you looking forward to the show tonight?
I am. I'm intrigued. So we're going to the first ever. Yeah, it is my first ever comedy show. I went to an open mic event one time, so people were doing poetry and that sort of thing. And this one guy came up and just did some comedy for about less than 5 minutes. So that was my first glimpse of it, and I was like, I think I'd quite enjoy the comedy show. I've obviously watched like Trevor Noah online, Ali Wong. Do you know her? So I'm intrigued about what this would be like. Is this your first comedy show?
No, I've been to a couple. This will be my second one here in Alice Springs.
Okay.
So I really do hope it's funny.
I think sometimes you can find humor in situations where there was no humor.
Yeah.
Like, with dad jokes, for example. Sometimes it's funny because they're not funny.
Because that's the point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed your trip to Uluṟu. And that you have a lovely evening at the comedy show.
Yes,
And
I'm sure.
we'll have heaps more to talk about when we get back to Brisbane.
Exactly. That's right.
You are listening to the More Life podcast.
More Life Podcast.
This is
This is the More Life Podcast.
On this episode, I am doing errands with my brother, Dingani, so I figured it would be the perfect time to record and have you join us as well. So, see if we can wait for him to get here, and then we'll head off. Here he is. Hi, Dingani.
What's up, Gigi?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Welcome to More Life. Welcome to the Carpool.
It's a pleasure to be here.
That's good. We are heading out today. We've got some things to do, some errands to run.
Yes, sir.
But it's also a day before camp for you.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm trying to come into open-minded, Like, I don't know. I'm excited for it, but
It's been very secretive, hasn't it?
Yeah. they're not sharing much, so I don't know how to feel about it. But yeah.
You were saying before, you're like, it's just so confusing because this is a camp where they haven't taught us what our activities are.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I literally don't know what's going on. All they've told us is what to bring and how long we're there for, and yeah, that's about it.
The rest you figure out as you go.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you mentioned at other camps you'll know you're going. What have you done? You've done like surfing at camps, or kayaking or hiking, but this one, all you know is that you're going to be at a location.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've just been told that we're staying in an enclosed area, So I'm not sure what to expect, but yeah.
I've been on this camp before. The same
Yeah.
camp you're going on, and I can confirm it is good.
Yeah.
It is good. Do you have a favorite camp from school?
I'd say That's a tough one. I'd say it's got to be Canberra. Like,
Yeah.
I know that you didn't get it going, but
Yeah, I was
it's
gonna say,
just
must be
Canberra.
nice.
Yeah, like just the fact that we like got to go on a whole plane with like your friends, your teachers, and the skiing experience. Even though I wasn't that good, but yeah, it was. It's definitely probably my favorite.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd say I have a favorite camp. I'm one of those people who, like, every camp, I'm just, like, excited to be there. Then again, it was me with, like, every day of school. I'm kind of that person. But, yeah, I think definitely the camps that were adventure camps were good. Like, where you're doing, abseiling or hiking.
Yeah.
Or, there's this big activity that you're doing. But also, this camp you're about to go on, I think it was probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
As well as in grade 12, you go to Fraser Island. So that's always a highlight for people.
I feel like year 11 and 12 are more, they're different to all the other ones from what I've heard. Like, all of the other ones sound like, well, year 11 and 12 sound like you're just chilling. And all the other ones, you're like doing something, like, as in you're going out and about, doing all these activities. So, yeah.
Exactly.
It would be cool to just chill, I guess.
For sure. I feel though, because I know a lot of people complain and go, oh my goodness, like you can't have phones, it's so annoying, whether it's like school or camps. Do you think that it's actually better to not have them?
I'm kind of like, I have two thoughts on that, because I feel like I understand why people think phones wouldn't be cool to like capture the moment, and you could like have a good time while showing other people funny videos, but I feel like in a way that ruins the experience, because I feel like everyone would be on their phone more, everyone would be like less social, I guess. We were talking about this the other day, how at lunch times and all that, having phones would kind of ruin the vibe, because like sometimes the like funniest things happen when you're not on your phone, when you're having a good laugh.
That's true.
With all your friends. Yeah.
I think if you think about it, for me personally, if I look back at like what are the funnest memories I've had, none of them involve like scrolling on my phone with a friend.
Yeah,
it's always something that's like, a different thing where you're experiencing the world around you without having tech around. Yeah,
that's actually so true. Yeah.
Do you think there'll be a generation that can't manage without phones, or do you think that it's still an innate part of people to?
I think we kind of are in that generation, like that.
People who struggle with that phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, even kind of myself sometimes, I think, oh, what am I actually going to do without my phone? Or sometimes if I'm in public and I know I'm not on my phone, it's like I'm awkward without my phone.
Yeah.
So it's almost like my phone makes me more comfortable.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like it's definitely only going to get worse with all these new technologies going to come out.
Well, I say to people all the time that I feel like sometimes things can cycle around. So maybe we'll get to a point where it's like really bad, and then all of a sudden people just get sick of it all and then get rid of it.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know how that'll go with like all like AI is taking over right now. So I don't know how that's gonna throw things into disarray or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I was I was doing this survey for a company, or I was doing some feedback work for a company.
Yeah.
And one of the questions was, how often do you use AI? And I was like, oh, I don't think I really use AI much.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, do you have a Google Home? And I was like, yeah. Do you use Siri? Yeah, do you use it? And I was like, oh, okay, so AI, like, it's been here. We've been using it for a while.
Yeah.
I think what we're seeing is probably AI in spaces where we didn't think we could have it before. So, for example, in the art space, how people, that AI app where you can like get your face drawn.
Yeah, I've seen
that sort of thing. What else have you seen recently? ChatGPT, so AI is now coming into your assignments and getting stuff done. So I think AI is just coming into new spaces, but it's really something that we've had for a while. Are you concerned about that?
I mean, all of the older people, the like boomers.
Yeah, I was gonna say older people.
Yeah.
Like or older people.
No. Like, they seem so stressed about it. Like, I understand why it's scary when you hear all these stories about like, I think there was one where some mum was like blackmailed or whatever.
Oh yes, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, because the AI like faked her voice that she was like in trouble being kidnapped, and I'm like, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know.
Damn, that's crazy.
For some reason, it just hasn't been a big fear to me. But I remember at school, we were talking about in CF, and and was saying that he's really scared of AI and all that.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I was like, yeah, I guess it's interesting how the older people are definitely more afraid of it.
And that's one of the chill teachers, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you're like, if you're scared, then we're good.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah. No, I think it has the potential to get really bad, but I don't know. I think sometimes you just gotta hope that maybe people will remain sensible and not let things get out of hand.
Yeah.
But I guess we have to be part of that as well, don't we?
Yeah. It's a whole effort. Like, it starts with one person, but like, I guess we all got to chip in somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So you mentioned that we all got to chip in to make AI not take over essentially, or to be sensible and make right decisions as a society. Speaking of which, of chipping in and everything, I went to a debate this week where the topic was, should cancel culture be cancelled? And that's something that needs a whole lot of people to chip in for things like cancel culture and boycotting to be effective.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, I suppose, on cancel culture?
Well, I feel like to a certain extent, I kind of understand why it's there, but I am more of the side that it shouldn't be a thing.
Okay.
But like, the reason I think I understand why is because obviously, like, society, people, it has to be controlled in some way.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have people just rambling on about bad stuff, right? Which are obviously pulling people down, which are negative, which obviously aren't helping. So I understand why.
Yeah.
And why people go to, but I feel like there's definitely like circumstances where I just feel like it's just kind of like taken out of context, some stuff, and where it's everyone ganging up on one person.
That's right. Yeah.
Just like following the trend, and it's like, have you actually like sat down, listened to the context and everything, or are you just hopping on the bandwagon?
Exactly.
And just doing that?
That's a big thing, I think. There's I don't know if you know Pastor Tim Ross.
Yeah.
On his podcast, one of the things he says is you can't hate people from up close, because when you get to know them, you sort of know a little bit more of where they're coming from, what their context is.
Yeah.
And he also talks about, just like a lot of people do, being able to listen to someone's entire thought, because I guess in this day and age, you listen to a 30-second clip online, and people have automatically formed their opinions about people.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point you're making, of getting the context and getting to know what this person's actually talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I agree.
Do you think though, because one of the reasons that cancel culture exists and started is because people felt that they weren't getting the justice they needed otherwise. I heard someone once say, "Oh well, I think they should just follow the legal system if there's a problem with what someone said and done." Do you think that the legal system's enough these days?
I feel like that's tough.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
I was
that's
wondering
like tough.
do you think this would get us cancelled by the government?
Like it kind of gets tricky on who decides what makes it right or wrong.
Yeah.
So sometimes when the situation gets more complicated, it's hard to only follow the legal system, I feel like.
And I suppose that's why you have whole groups of people being disappointed by a verdict. Whereas, you can have millions of people. I mean, at the moment I'm thinking of, just some like major cases around the world, but it's like everyone's just so appalled by the decisions made by the legal system.
Yeah.
And you would think that, all these formal systems of judging people and whatnot would be in line with what the majority feels as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, even some like countries, I'm not going to name names, but where they're ruled by one particular person. Yeah. And they're not like, what's the word? And they're not democracies, right?
Yeah.
I just feel like I just don't understand how that works. Just one person making the decision for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And it's all based on what they've experienced, what
Exactly.
they think with no.
Yeah.
And it's the same in other countries as well, because I'm thinking of another particular country right now, where the people who make the decisions for everyone, a lot of their experience is just so different to the people that they're, I guess, leading essentially. But yeah.
And then you think, is that person like, is it really fair just to base everything on their experience?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we have arrived at our first destination, so we're gonna dip, and then we'll be back in a moment. See you soon.
See ya.
Alrighty, y'all. We're back in the car, and we're on to our next location. Let's do this. Okay, what is the best way to get to where we're going? I'm actually thinking we could turn left here.
Yeah, maybe. All the way.
No, all roads will lead to that same roundabout.
Yeah, true.
What's your sense of direction like now that you're starting to, or you're preparing to get your P plates?
In terms of like just
like knowing where to go, like where to turn, fastest way to get somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like in the places like where I go often, like to work, school.
Yeah. So I was like, damn, you're really gonna tell the whole internet where you frequent.
School, and like it's like pretty easy.
Damn, you just told the whole internet your neighborhood. This dude has no self-preservation skills.
Not that deep.
Okay, yeah.
But like even when we're exiting our house, right?
Yeah.
In North Lakes. Like
What are you really trying to say?
when I'm leaving our house, right? Like it's like all of those like turns, it's like I'm doing effortlessly.
Oh, nice.
Like it's just in my head that I need to do that little like swivel around the I know the word.
Like an island.
The island.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just doing that in my head. I can still be doing whatever, thinking about something else. It's just natural now.
Yeah, cool.
And then I'm instantly like turning on my right indicator, blah blah blah. But then it used to be like, okay, now I have to turn on my right indicator. I'm gonna move my hand.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, driving is getting more, I guess, what's the word?
Not like natural?
More natural.
Yeah.
I was
remember,
gonna use another word for it.
Intuitive?
Yeah. I was thinking of like gross, fine, gross, or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
I remember at my first ever driving lesson,
Yeah.
I was like the same thing, like hands on here,
Yeah.
move this back. And then the driving instructor was like, one day this is going to come so natural to you, you won't even think about it. And I was like, that's cap. Like, what do you mean this is going to be so natural to me? Like, this is so weird. Like, I was so like, not scared, but I was just like, damn, I'm behind the wheel of a heavy vehicle. Like, it's serious stuff. And then I just know, like, these days, and something that happens to people a lot where you're not mindful enough, and so you'll literally, like, get home and be like, oh, damn, I drove all the way from work.
Yeah.
And, like, it's crazy.
I was saying once I get my P's or whatever, that like first drive with that anyone is gonna feel so weird. Like I feel I'm actually gonna be nervous because it's like
exactly. You're unsupervised.
Yeah, you're unsupervised.
An unaccompanied minor.
Yeah.
Because you'll be a minor. Wait. Yeah, you do get your license under the age of 18.
Yeah. Where was your first drive?
My first drive was to a wedding for one of my youth leaders.
Really?
So it was like a classic drive. It was like home to church. So something I'd done before, which made it really good.
Yeah.
And I was very like aware of the fact that I was alone in the car. Yeah. The car thing is that much bigger as well. The road, like I don't know. It's such a clear memory in my head. I remember like the exact dress I was wearing.
Yeah.
The moment that it really hit me and I thought about it was on Old Northern Road, coming up towards the Eaton's Hill shopping center.
Yeah.
That's where I was like, I like literally that's like a screenshot in my head.
Did you like play music? Or were you playing music?
I think the first half of the drive,
yeah.
I was like, turned it all off. I was like, let me just focus.
I know. Like that's how I feel. Like I can't picture myself like driving with music because I have to stay focused.
Exactly. But then later on, you know, if people who are like driving with their knee, putting on makeup with one hand, like music's all the way up.
Yeah,
Obviously, you don't want to get to a point where you're complacent,
yeah,
but
exactly.
you'll find at some point it's a lot easier to just
Yeah.
chill.
Yeah. When did you feel like, as in like, when did it hit you that you're like, oh, I'm like pro at driving, like I can drive through? As in, was it like after your green peas?
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Probably my green peas, I definitely felt more confident because, like,
Yeah,
or a little bit into red peas, you're already like, okay, cool, like I've been doing
Yeah.
this for a while. I think one of the things that sort of had me made me feel like, okay, cool, I must be good at this and
Yeah.
I must be trusted, is the fact that, like, your friends' parents would be like, oh, can you pick, like when you pick Dingani up, can you pick, you know, the other boys up from the party as
Right.
well?
Yeah,
Hey, do you mind, you know, driving our kid to training on the
True.
way, or that sort of stuff. So I think for other people's parents to trust me with their kids, I was like,
Yeah,
oh, okay,
that's-
like it meant a lot to me.
that's a big
Um,
thing,
Even though, like, I think anyone could have taken it as like, damn, they're really using me.
Yeah.
I took it as, oh wow, I can't believe they like trust me
They
with their
trust you,
children. Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that you're looking forward to most with driving yourself?
I mean, I guess not that I have anything to hide or any sketchy places to be, but I guess just that freedom of being able to like go wherever you want, not
Yeah.
having to like go to like mommy and daddy and be like, oh, can you take me to this place?
Yeah, for sure.
And then they'll be like, yeah,
What about us then?
yeah.
We drove over
Or you guys, oh yeah, and you guys. But like with you guys are sort of just like, you guys are like, oh yeah, cool, like
Yeah.
yeah, sure. But like you guys don't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're like, who's going? What are you doing? Stuff like that. I'm
Well,
like,
you could be like, give us a random address and say, drop me off here, and we're like, okay.
yeah, legit, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that is cool
Yeah.
having the freedom to be able to just like up and go everywhere. I find I actually have the, I don't want to say opposite problem, but like one thing I found after I started driving is that
Yeah.
I wanted to drive all the time. Like I needed
Really?
the car with me.
Yeah.
Like public transport, I was like, is there a way I can drive and park there?
Yeah.
Or if someone else offered to drive, I'm like, I can drive. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to be the one driving all the
Right.
time. Which is cool because especially if you know you're a safe driver, you're like, okay, cool. Like I'm
Yeah.
in charge here. You don't have to. Yeah. Especially when I think when you're on your P's.
Yeah.
And your friends are on your P's, there's an element of, oh, I have to trust this other person who's also just started
Yeah, for
driving
sure.
and trust that they're going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just something to consider. Are you the first of your friends to be getting your P's?
Got his piece last week.
Damn, really exposing all your friends' names on the internet. Sorry.
Oh God. I have a question.
Yes.
When you used to, because I was thinking about this when I was getting my camp stuff ready this morning.
Mhm.
I was like, because at the start, I'm never a guy that likes to bring a whole suitcase because it makes me cringe. I'm like, that's unnecessary. But I was thinking, I was like, damn, this is a lot of stuff. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to take all this in my little soccer like my full bag. But I was gonna say, were you like a overpacker?
I think I was
I
pretty
feel like-
reasonable.
Really? I
know.
feel like you'd be an overpacker.
These days, I very easily could be, but I think back then I was quite
Yeah, right.
reasonable. I think either I was quite reasonable or there were just some people who were more overpackers than I
Yeah.
was. I definitely overpacked. It'd be like a 3-day camp. And
Yeah.
I've got like 6 different pairs of pants.
Yeah.
But I always like, you know, managed to like
Yeah.
squeeze, like make it into a small bag and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But these days, like for example, I'm going on a trip this week.
Yeah.
And just the thought of having to fit everything into my carry-on, I'm like, should I have like bought
Yeah.
extra like luggage for the flight? Because I'm like, I think I just like having my stuff with me, you know.
Yeah. I get you.
I think one thing I've had to learn, because we obviously used to go camping a lot.
Yeah.
Like growing up, we've just always gone camping, and there's only so much that you can take when you go camping, because you know, either you're going to be carrying it around, or it's going to be need to fit in the car with everyone else's stuff, that sort of thing. And so it's quite interesting when I go on trips now, and I've got the space and I've got everything. I
Yeah.
still feel as if I need to be like over prepared.
Yeah.
And then I remind myself, oh wait, where I'm going, there's actually shops there. So like if I forget my toothpaste, it's fine.
Yeah, you can
buy
just buy
another one.
it.
Or I think that's something interesting that's I've sort of realized recently.
Yeah. But like, I feel like, because I remember grade 4, right?
Mhm.
I underpacked crazy, like grade 4. And it was the
Really?
worst, because
What did you forget?
I remember I didn't pack enough shirts, and one of my shirts got soaked or something. I don't know how. And I was wearing like another shirt, like two. Like obviously it was okay because it wasn't a long hair.
Yeah.
But I just remember I was wearing the same shirt the whole time,
No, ew.
and I could smell it as well.
No, that's terrible.
And I didn't have a choice. Like I was like, I don't know. I literally only had 3 shirts,
Yeah.
and I think one of them I wore when I was sleeping, and I was like, oh, I don't want to wear that because I slept in it. But I was just wearing the same day shirt, and I was like, oh.
That's terrible.
It was
That's your
bad.
first camp as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and ever since that, I'm low key an overpacker.
You know what's crazy? Someone, probably mommy, would have been like, pack an extra shirt, and you'd be like, no, I don't need one.
Thanks.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Alrighty, we're at our next destination. We'll see you in a little bit. Bye. If you know me, you know I love a good conversation.
Yeah.
You know I love a good discussion without all the extra,
Yeah.
without taking things personally.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what people can do often, take things personally
Yeah.
in certain discussions where it's like, but at the end of the day, how is this really affecting your life?
A good friend of mine, right?
Mhm.
So he loves his like his debates, and he gets really into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he gets really into it. So before he goes on a debate with someone, he like warns them and says it's like nothing personal, whatever I say, and he always gives a little disclaimer. And
That's so fascinating.
and it's like I'm like still like ready to be friends no matter the outcome. And I'm like,
wow.
he always says it.
That's cool though. Like I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like a Ben 10 type. Did you see that?
That bus.
Yeah. That looks exactly like the Ben 10. Anyway.
So fascinating.
What the heck?
When was the last time you watched Ben 10?
I don't know.
That sounds like, wow, how'd you just randomly?
Just like, I don't know. But yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, so he does that. So I was thinking, because like, low-key, on Bates can get like pretty heated. So
yeah, for sure.
I guess it's good that, nothing's personal.
Exactly.
It's weird. I feel like I used to be a lot about expressing my points.
Yeah.
And then it feels like as I've grown over, I'm kind of like caved in more to just keeping it to myself. But not that I'm afraid to share, but I don't openly share. Like if someone asks, I'm glad to talk about it.
Yeah.
But then you have some people who will always, in some way, try to like show what they think.
You want to talk to me? Talk to me direct.
Yeah.
Don't go through the corners. They're actually accusing me of it.
Low key.
Yeah.
Nah,
I thought you were gonna say I'm joking.
Nah, but like the people in my grade that are like that they'll just always try to like express that they like some of their idea or their like opinion.
Yeah.
Or something.
I think that's interesting. I used to be growing up. I used to be a don't share your opinion, but I was quite a people pleaser. Like sacrifice myself essentially for people and to make sure everyone's content and happy, and I don't step on people's toes and all that sort of thing. And then I got to a stage where I think I was still like, I don't want to say it was the opposite. It's not that I wasn't, I was so, aggressive in opinions, but I guess for me, it felt like because I was defending the people that were vulnerable. So I was like, sharing my opinions on Instagram, that sort of thing. It wasn't even a lot. It really wasn't that much. And it was like reposting stuff, but it felt for me, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm always putting myself out there.
Yeah.
And recently I've just gotten to a point where I'm thinking a lot about some of the conversations that we have. Are they, are they necessary? Like, is this the best way to do it? Like, just really thinking through it more rather than always just being like, okay, this needs to be said.
Yeah, right.
Like, okay, how does it need to be said? When does it need to be said? But yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like one thing I struggle with, I feel like I'm getting better with it, but I remember we did a reflection sheet thing. It was on like, do you care a lot about what other people think of you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think it's a thing that majorly affects me, or it's like I'll do something because I want to impress. It's like when I used to think like that. It wasn't to impress other people, but it's just that I'd be like, what if they think this?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm definitely getting like, if I want to do it, I want to do it. If I don't, I don't.
Yeah. I definitely do still consider people's opinions when I do stuff, as in just understanding whenever you say a point, the person in front of you could be the person who you're talking about, essentially.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
that shouldn't be a reason to compromise what your values or anything like that. But it's a good enough reason to remain aware that you should still be compassionate in what you're saying and say things kindly instead of just being flippantly saying stuff about different groups of people, whatever it is. So yeah.
I agree. But like, I mean, even little stuff like participating in a certain event or doing a school thing. I'm like, I don't want to do that because I don't want people to think I'm like a nerd. I don't want people to, because like stuff like that. I feel like the little things like that used to really like get me not to do it.
And I think that's one thing I've always found very useful from my experience growing up, because I moved so much and I was always like the different person in different spaces.
Yeah.
I really like stopped caring how certain things made me look potentially. It was like, bro, if I really want to do this, let me just find the people around me who will do it with me.
Yeah.
Like, and there were other things that might have stopped me from doing stuff, but it was never, like I might look like a nerd, or I might do this. Yeah. And you'd also be surprised how many people would also do those things, but they just needed someone else doing it.
Exactly, I've noticed that.
Yeah. And also, the other thing is when trends come back around, it's like, bro, back when I was doing this, y'all say.
Sure.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, should we go in?
Yeah. Where would you see yourself if you hadn't had done physio? Like, did you have any other backup options?
No. Physio was my backup option.
Yeah, I know, but like,
I've always wanted to be a doctor. That was my one thing.
Yeah.
I think when I was younger, I had times where I was like, I want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Because mommy was a teacher.
Yeah.
And then at some point I was like, no, I just want to be a mom. That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
And in my head, being a mommy was a profession. It was like a job.
Yeah.
Like,
It kind of is.
It is, yeah. It's a lot of work.
Like,
it's like, full-time stuff, man. And then once I decided that I wanted to be a doctor, that was it. Since I was primary school, like a little primary school. So
yeah.
And people would be like, it was quite fascinating and I guess challenging when we did step planning. Is that what you guys called it as well?
That thing was so stressful.
So that's where you decide what career you want to do and all that sort of stuff. And people would be like, oh, like I want to do this. I'm thinking of this, and I don't know. And I was like, how do you guys not know? Like, I decided this years ago, and this is what I'm doing. So
the thing that made it hard is when the teachers would go to me like, I don't think that's realistic in your situation, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's something that I would challenge these days, because there's obviously reasonable expectations of what a sustainable career is, but we live in a world now where, like, bro, you could. Sounds corny, but like you can be anything you want to be.
Yeah.
It really is true.
There are many ways to be successful.
Yeah, exactly. So many people who are told like, oh, you can't do this, or this isn't going to work for you. Like I know a girl at school who was told, oh, you can't just model, like that being a model isn't a job, like all this sort of stuff. And like now, that's what they're doing, and they're making money from it, and they're succeeding. They still have other stuff that they enjoy doing on the side. So yeah, I'd say that possibilities are endless, but in some industries, there's so much more competition with those other paths that aren't typical. And there's also an aspect where it's like you have to really know what you're going to do. You got it, Because I think with things like, for example, physio, it's quite simple. Like, okay, I just need to get the right OP. Yeah. And then get the right, okay, cool, just got to study every day, do what I got to do. You graduate, get your paper, apply for this, great, you get it. Like, it's very straightforward. Whereas there's some industries where it's not straightforward. There's a lot more networking involved and pathways and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you got to be like best of the best at your thing. Exactly,
yeah. Even if you think of when people are like, no, you can't be a basketball player, you can't be a soccer player. Like, you can, but it's going to take work. Yeah. It's going to take... I think the sad thing about a lot of sports is that you also need to know the right people sometimes. Yeah, for sure. just be in the right places. It's not just about your skill.
But I also feel like what gives people hope with that is you hear so many stories of people like that, like got past all of the haters that like went against all of the odds, so then people get inspired.
Exactly, that's right.
Which is kind of sad, because I'm not saying like it's like a fluke to make it, but it's like I feel like it would disencourage a lot of people, because it's like sometimes life it's just not like that.
Exactly. What do you think? Because there's this idea of saying if you don't have like a crazy difficult background to get to where you're going,
you're not gonna get
there. What do you think about that?
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
You can, like, even because you know when people say the coach's son.
Yeah.
I feel like it's definitely a thing in basketball. Like, there's so many players now where their like father or something was just so good at basketball. That kid wasn't even that good, but let's just say he has the same last name. So it's like they're just there. Do you get what I mean?
So you're saying you don't have to have some like
crazy
background to actually make it. Well, it's sort of saying, what if you're just regular? Like you didn't grow up in the projects, you didn't go through some traumatic death in the family, like, because that's what you hear. Like a lot of the big stars.
Yeah,
the reason it came up when I was talking to people, it was related to Tina Turner. I don't know if you heard of her passing away recently. And obviously she had like the most tragic background. Aretha Franklin as well passed away a while ago, and she had the most tragic background. Think of Oprah Winfrey, her story is like super sad. Like just all these big people, it's like, man, can you just have like a person who succeeds but with no crazy sad story and everything?
I think, I guess, those people that go through those stuff, it's easier for them to stay accountable and to like be motivated, because like most of the time it's like they like literally didn't have another choice. They don't. It was either die or like turn out like you're less fortunate, like people you know, the people in your area who you know that they've been struggling their whole life and their life isn't that good. So it's either that or like there's no real choice.
Exactly.
So I feel like maybe people that are regular, it's like it's so easy to be more lazy because you have everything provided for you. You have this. But
so
then those people who did have it tough or whatever, they probably wish to have the opposite. Like they'd wish to be regular, because they'd be like, oh, I like wish that I had my own basketball court, my own basketball. I wish I didn't have to run this far. I wish I didn't have to do all this just to play. So I also feel like it makes people who in those tough circumstances or situations, it makes them more grateful. As well.
I think that's such a big point, the idea of saying that the people who've had those tragic stories and difficult whatever, like obstacles to face essentially, like they have no choice. They're like, bro, I gotta make it. Like, like what else am I gonna do? This is all I have.
Exactly.
So I think it's with that desperation in there, that's where the motivation comes from. Just being like, like this is it for me. There's my only option. And you're right. I do think sometimes being in a privileged position sort of makes you feel as if there's always going to be other options. Like I know I've definitely been guilty of being like, oh, if this doesn't work, like it's okay. Like I'll just try this instead. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's definitely a good point.
Yeah.
We've made it back. We've finished all our errands. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, Dingani.
All good. Thanks for inviting me.
It's been fun doing this carpool. I feel like we could have gone for longer. Like we could have definitely definitely done more if we weren't stopping and going and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone, and for hanging out.
See you
if
guys.
I wouldn't stop fiddling with things so that I can actually hear myself. Thank you so much for driving with us, for carpooling with us. We will see you in the next episode of More Life. In the meantime, feel free to listen back to any other episode that we've released so far, and I will see you soon. Bye!